I'm excited. It's already almost the weekend, says Pato Rankin. Just kidding. You're welcome to Breakfast Central on a Thursday. It's the penultimate day before Friday. And boy, it's been a very eventful and interesting week. Of course, we bring you everything you need to know here on Breakfast Central, the right way to start your day. I am Binga Abura. Welcome to the show.
And I'm Joe Hansen, welcoming you to Breakfast Central. Just as Binga said, it's a Thursday already, and how a very funny time flies. But then again, how good it is that we are indeed alive. Now, like they always say, as long as there's life, there's hope. And that happens to be the song for many Nigerians who are hopeful that things will indeed turn around for the good, because it seems to be very chaotic in certain districts or areas, especially with the exclusive interview that we had here on News Central with the Reverend. But that's another story for another time. But this morning, we want to officially welcome you to Breakfast Central. As we usually mention, we are online, so you can join us. You could stream on YouTube, Facebook, and equally, you could watch us on X. In the meantime, feel free to drop a comment or two and let us know what you think about some of the very interesting stories that we will be looking at here today on Breakfast Central's News Central program. Yes. Now, back to you, Olive. Good morning to you.
Good morning to our incredible viewers. Thank you very much for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central. Yesterday was intense. We've seen the memes. Maybe I don't want to say that directly. That's what informed my color choice this morning.
You're inspired by.
You know, I don't want to say that. I'm wearing olive because my name is Olive. But it has been a back and forth of memes, and the social media challenge started on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter and X, with people recreating the scene between the FCT Minister and the Naval officer, just basically recreating it in cartoon format and sketch format. And as a result, it would seem that there's a latest update in that regard. But we're talking about all that and more this morning on Breakfast Central. You're welcome to the show. My name is Olive Emodi.
You know, Olive, talking about what happened 2 days ago, I think comedians, there's every profession in Nigeria has once been touted as those responsible for the demise and the decline in societal values. Yesterday, as a result of the videos, because we saw Nas Boy and Cute Abiola, they recreated that video, and you could see comments saying everything is not a joke, that is because of these comedians, that's why society is like this. You know, they blamed lawyers. They said the judiciary is responsible for the rot. Who else have they not blamed? They've blamed journalists for not doing investigative journalists.
So now it's the turn for not...
Pastors.
Yes. Pastors.
For not fixing the nation, for praying.
So now it's
the turn of
We've
comedians.
become very, very sensitive, right? And I understand that everything is not a joke, but we are gradually become an extremely sensitive society. Comedy and art, they say, imitates life. And sometimes these are the way... There are people who just go at the end of the day on some of these pages just to have a good laugh. At the end of the day, they're swiping through and they're laughing. And so long as what they're doing is not illegal, as far as we know, we're in a democratic nation, and it's not illegal to recreate a scenario that happened. What should be illegal is the scenario that happened in the first place. But that's a conversation for another day. Gentlemen, how are you?
Yeah, I mean,
well, very well, thank you.
It feels good to be here, like I say, but in line with the situation that happened yesterday, there's an update. And the update simply is that the Federal Capital Territory, the Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, has eventually slammed a ban on use of mobile phones by staff of the Abuja Geographic Information System. That's AGIS, or what many call AGIS, you know. And he says no more phones. Now, recall that there were different angles to that altercation. It seems like everyone just whipped out their phones and said, this is it. Countdown, lights, camera, action. And they started recording. And that recording, I think, the question I want to ask
I mean, even the minister's aide was also recording. So we live in the 21st century.
No, but he's a journalist. He's a journalist of respect.
Who's that?
Mr. Larry,
Larry also whipped out his phone and was recording. So my question is this going to affect Larry too? Is he going to...
I think the minister was embarrassed by the leak. It wasn't a leak. It was in the public.
Okay,
and you expect people, okay, there you
Okay, so I'm sure he's not going to whip out his phone anymore because his boss has said no more recording.
I don't want to
But it's not
believe
part
that
of
memo.
AGIS.
I don't want to
It's not
believe.
part of the Abuja geographic information.
Yeah, well, that means it doesn't stop the journalists as well who were on ground to record, because journalists were equally on ground. You had media outlets who were there. Some of the media outlets even covered from his arrival. I don't know if you've seen his arrival. It was
the sirens. You even had outriders
a presidential
on bikes.
arrival.
Yeah.
I must tell you. And I mean, this is a clear coverage, and this is of course a clear feed. It shows this is a camera shot and not just a phone. So that means that Nigerians shouldn't worry. If the minister said that the members of AGIS, which is the Abuja Geographic Information System, should stop using their mobile devices. Remember that the minister always likes to work with the press, the media. So you can be sure that whatever information is going to pass to Nigerians, the press definitely will be there.
All right, I mean, still speaking about these unfortunate incidents, we'll see that just 2 days after that fiery face-off between the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike and the Naval officer in Abuja, what we've seen is that an earlier message from the Inspector General of Police, Kadi Ekpetokun, now seems to hit even harder. Gbenga?
Yes, it was talking about the hierarchy of things and that the people should be the first line of defense. He was speaking at a town hall. It was speaking at the Securing Nigeria Through the Town Gown Partnership Conference at Lagos State University of Education. Ijani King, the IGP made a striking point, saying Nigeria's first line of defense isn't the army, it's the people. Then today, the Minister of Defense, Mohammed Badaru, added fuel to the fire, assuring that any officer acting on lawful duty will be fully protected, despite the altercation with the FCT Minister, with both statements colliding on the airwaves. The question now is who truly holds the power, the civilians, the uniformed men, or the tension between them? Interesting.
Now, take a look at this statement. Chief of Defense Staff says every soldier has an element of madness, for while the right-thinking man withdraws from danger, a soldier charges towards him. What do we make out of this?
Because
they're training.
Because they are. I think from certain quarters, there were expectations that those in power will be able to, those in power will talk to will talk in favor of the minister. That's what it was almost looking like. That's what many expected. But many are now saying that, oh, this is not looking that good. It's like people are talking against, people are in support. I think Nigerians need to really understand something. And Benga, I know you highlighted that. Was it yesterday or so? Was it you? Now, listen, these are trained officers.
Professionals. Yes.
They have their line of communication. We also highlighted it here as well. And bringing sentiment into the fold that because you have a minister who works in the cabinet, therefore all who have been appointed to serve the country should therefore lie and support whatever the minister has done.
Who don't have a direct line of command with the minister.
Yes.
And they're in two different branches, completely different branches of government. So how do you explain that? And the middle point is respect. And that's why we emphasize, okay, at that higher level of the minister, he would be in a better position to talk to the CDS or the Chief of Naval Staff at the top level. And there will be some form of respect. But having said that, respect permeates all strata of society.
Absolutely.
So regardless of status, there are ways in which you could talk to people. Even in the Nigerian Navy, his senior officers will not address him that way, even in the same Navy. So respect begets respect. And that's the genesis of all of this.
Yeah.
If the minister had not used those words, if he hadn't talked to him in a condescending way, I don't think that the tables would have turned, or the discussion will be completely different.
Okay.
Anyway.
I mean, I think we may have overflowed this matter, but let's go to X and see what Nigerians are saying about it.
Omoyele Shore says, from the same man who completed his service in the Nigerian police force but had his tenure illegally extended, denying others their rightful opportunity under the rule of law. From the same officer who deployed armed police to shoot at defenseless minors peacefully protesting during the #EndBadGovernance in Nigeria demonstrations in 2024. From the same man who ordered police prosecutions to charge minors with treason in 2024. And he goes on to say, a barbaric act in any democracy. From the same man who prompted unqualified officers based on personal relationships and turned the Nigeria Police Force police engine into a tribal organization where only his kinsmen are rewarded with juicy postings. From the same man who abuses his office to settle personal scores instead of upholding justice and professionalism. That is, and he goes on to call the IG of police. Well, this is Omoyele Shore's response to the statement made by the IG of police. And that is his opinion, but he says that he's not taking it, he's not buying it, he's buying his statement. Daniel Rega says, police officers, are they educated or showing signs of discipline? Let's start from there. The first line of defense is its people, sure. But the same people the police tear gas during peaceful protests, the same people the police harass non-stop, extort and assault at every given opportunity. The same people who have been victims of accidentally discharged bullets from power-drunk officers, the same people the police has failed to protect. How many police officers know what education means? You have bigger issues to worry about. More reactions coming from the IG.
That's typical Daniel Rega.
Yeah.
Nafisa says, self-awareness, they cry. I have never in my entire life met a disciplined police officer before, not even one. It's like an unwritten rule to be unfortunate. Half the Nigerians in the diaspora left the country because of you people. One or two experiences with the Nigerian police. That's what Nafisa says. I think this one's a bit much. Let's see our next tweet. It says, and when the people don't trust the police, Ben, your biggest challenge is a lack of trust. I went to VI police station to report that I was robbed of my phone and needed to make an entry. The first thing the lady at the counter asked was, so what you go give us? I weak. It was when I mentioned that another senior police officer asked me to meet her boss that she directed me to the person.
Can you imagine?
I mean, no sign of empathy. We've had people that just got in accidents, robbery, and I mean, that's just typical.
The IGP speaks of education, discipline, and unity. Admirable words, but detached from Nigeria's current reality.
Fact.
In as much as I agree with a few of his points, one must ask, what infrastructure has been strategically developed to ensure a safe and functional environment for learning? Speaking of discipline, how disciplined are those in power, including the police, who should exemplify the highest standards of conduct? Instead, they've become serial violators of the very laws they swore to uphold. As for united by rule of law, the political class has done more to destabilize this nation than anyone else, weaponizing tribalism, religious bias, and hate whenever it serves their personal ambitions. A nation cannot preach integrity while rewarding impunity. These quotes should be directed at those in power, not Nigerians. Until leadership begins to embody the discipline it demands, such statements remains beautifully worded contradictions. That's what Ebitu
Beautiful
said.
statement there from Ebitu Promise. Edo Wizard, what's her name, says Wike will see camel and he will run.
Yeah,
this is not the first time he's been showed pepper by the military. He narrated his worst days as governor when a general showed him pepper. He said he saw the same general at the defense office and he refused to visit there.
I remember that story. I remember this story very much. He mentioned that.
Pickup says give Northerners their flowers and accolades when it comes to protecting their own. Data boys, our market. We have seen the difference between first-hand citizens and betrayal.
Which one is data boys again?
I think they were referring to
Banga boys who tweet things to trend.
apparently,
Even when
sadly
it
on
doesn't make
X,
sense.
X was referring to Wike's essay as a data boy.
Who was referring to him?
No, people
People on
that
X.
push narratives through social media.
Because
so
of
you need
that
data.
recording scene, and they said,
Interesting.
now, wow, Nigeria.
Now we are talking. I knew he got serious backing. His godfather will protect him. Nigerians will stand with him. I will support him. This hand already looks like
let's quickly mention here for those who are joining us, just to mention very quickly, if you're wondering on which side Nigerians belong concerning whether they are against or for either of the two key figures in the entire altercation, well, from us here at Breakfast Central, we've done a quick review and we looked at it very closely. When it comes to the FCT minister, for those who are for him, the percentage is very low, very low. And for the naval officer, for those who are for him, apparently on social media, it's high.
Yeah, but then there's the law and the constitution, constituted authority.
That's it.
What does the constitution say? There are those that believe that we're encouraging impunity, that people that support the naval officer are encouraging impunity, that the place of military personnel and soldiers should be in the barracks,
and not protecting
piece of land. Private property. But having said that, the Chief of Naval Staff, the former Chief of Naval Staff, as part of his entitlement and part of his retirement benefit is that is entitled to protection by Navy personnel. It happens.
Absolutely.
So as that eroded is he still entitled to it when it extends to property? Because he has a right to order.
There's also that's one angle.
That's a very key angle, Benga, because I do remember a naval officer I know, apparently he even stays close to our former office. It's not far off from there. Till date. He's been there for years. Till date, you still have officers. You find them around there. They just walk around his property. But then again, I saw another narrative in line with what you just said. And someone said, when you have someone who has been confiscating and holding and taking over properties, what were you expecting the naval officer, retired naval officer, to do? To just open his doors and let the person still come in?
Oh, the person has a reputation.
Exactly. So I also saw that narrative as well.
So
you would take the necessary steps to ensure that, listen, I do this. But in all of this, we're saying, like Oliver, and I mean, you guys have mentioned, I think the best thing to have done was to speak to the top.
Exactly.
The other angle to this is they will tell you Section 1 of the Land Use Act, and that Section 1 vests the Land Use Act in the governor. But then again, that will now birth the further argument. Is Wike the governor of the FCT? The FCT does not have a governor. Yes, you say Section 1 of the Land Use Act that all lands belong to the governor who holds it in trust, for the city.
Yeah. There are also those that said this same military that you people are supporting, are they not the ones, the Air Force officers that went into Ikeja IKDC to flog people because they disconnected their lights? Now be careful what you support and be careful what you wish for.
We support things when it's convenient and support the narrative.
Let me read one to you guys that hit me out of the tweets, because sometimes I will take the tweets, we'll also look at this one. Said, doesn't it sound ironical that a civilian who aided the military takeover of his state under a civil administration would be heard complaining that a military man is breaching his civil rights?
Irony.
Just let it sink deep. Let it sink deep. And it's not about us trying to, as journalists, we're neutral. We're trying to look at it from all angles.
That's why we're putting it out.
Yes, I decided to pivot through this one. And it hit me hard. I was like, wait, that's true. Because a few months ago, Rivers State, as we remember, the governor, we all know the story, was no longer there. You now had a former to run the state.
I don't hold brief for the FCT minister, but the answer will be there are different issues, that you're comparing apples and oranges.
Binga.
Okay, I think what starts on this story too.
If you go to the constitution,
it's almost
on that issue too.
It's almost time up.
It's almost time up. It's time up on
because even that issue is contentious.
It's contentious. Gentlemen, let's move to our next story.
Let's move to our next story very quickly. All right. The next story has got to do with a questionable video that has surfaced as well. It's got to do with one who is known to be very outspoken. I'm talking about Senator Enyinnaya Abaribe, who in a video recently revealed a shocking truth to many Nigerians. Now, I said Nigeria has been making payments to terrorists. He didn't hide his or mince his words. Speaking during a press briefing in Abuja, the former Senate minority leader called it a national shame, saying such actions reward criminality and undermine the courage and sacrifices of the nation's armed forces. He urged the government to focus on intelligence, law enforcement, and justice rather than appeasing violent groups, warning that buying peace from those determined to destroy the country only weakens national security and endangers all Nigerians. Let's take a look at this video for a second.
When bandits kidnap children and the state rewards them with amnesty, what do you think we have? We have lost whatever morality we have. When soldiers are killed in ambushes and in organized skirmishes by bandit terrorists, whatever name you call them. And the killers are rewarded with integration. What do you think that is? It is a state that has lost its morality. Because every state is built on a foundation of morality, which is justice and equity. In other words, if you commit a crime, you pay the price for that crime. And so, where does that bring us to? It brings us to a point where a nation that rewards terror will one day find that terror will take over power in that state. Because you're not punishing terror, rather you're rewarding them. And when you pay a kidnapper, all that you have done is that you have sown the seed for the next kidnap, because he will continue to do what he's doing. In 2015, in the inception of this APC government, I was the minority leader in the Senate, which meant that I was officially the person in opposition. And I continued to shout and cry. And I said then that rather than confront the evil before it, the government preferred to deal in propaganda. And I made a quotation that those who live by propaganda.
Now, here we have it again. Remember that just a few months ago, we had a sitting, current serving governor who had said that he understands and knows where the bandits are, where they live, and so on. Here is a senator who is also stating clearly that he is aware and he knows that payments are being made to these insurgents. But then again, many would say that he is an embattled senator, or many would say that he's an outspoken one, guys. I remember that in 2024, just last year, he was a very strong critique of the late President Muhammadu Buhari, and he never minced his words when it came to talking about insecurity. And one of the key highlights I remember in one of his statements was that he did say that before the national identity number was used, or was being used in Nigeria, there was a time where he was arrested by the DSS. And he asked them, how did you arrest me? They traced him. He was driving in Abuja, and they found him, and they came and arrested him. And they said, why are you arresting me? How did you find me? And they said, it's easy to find you. We simply just tracked you. And he has been one of the persons speaking tough and saying, we have NIN, we have BVN, we have everything. Yet monies are transferred to kidnappers, insurgents. Can't you trace them?
There's something called geotagging. We're not even using
he talked about that as well.
The technology. That is right. And I think this whole non-kinetic started is the beginning of the reason why we find ourselves in this way. Because you're applying kid gloves to something so serious as terrorism. These people, in their right mind, they weren't hypnotized. They have every sense of reasoning. They committed these offenses, very grievous offenses.
Let's not just call it offense, let's call it crime.
Crime.
And
it's true. Crimes, grievous crimes, serious crimes, murder, looting, stealing, displacement of people. And then just because you don't, for one, I can't even justify it, you integrate them, you call it non-kinetic approach. Meanwhile, their victims are there. They're still in IDP camps, struggling to get their lives together. And that's the height of injustice. And until we remove those kid gloves and deal with terrorism head on, let them know that it's a life and death issue, we will continue to have incidents like this.
I don't think there's anything else I need to add to it, because Benga has really hit the nail on the head, right? It is what it is. We're not treating it with the seriousness that we are, and I think it's unfair justice should be three. We should have a multidimensional approach to justice, and we should look at it from three perspectives: for the perpetrator of the act, for the victim of the act, and then for the state. So yes, the state can say, oh, this is a good measure, we are trying to keep the peace, but is he really keeping the peace? And are the victims of this case, do they feel like this is justice for them? A person goes to bed in their house, wakes up in the IDP camp. Why? Because some persons or group of persons decided to bomb the community, bomb the houses within that region. So they become homeless, and they're homeless for years. And after a while, in fact, they lose family members and loved ones in the course of this attack. Then this person who carried out this crazy criminal offense or this crime then decides, you know, I've repented. Repentance is for God. Forgiveness is for God. But there's a price to pay, because there are people who have not yet, they've not been able to get over the effect of these actions. And our government must start to treat it as such, because as much as they think that it looks good, it's a non-kinetic approach, it's a very, very unfair approach for the citizens. It's very unfair to the victims.
Like Russian President Vladimir Putin said, he said, my job is God's job to forgive terrorists.
Yes.
My job is to send them to him.
And then even in life, I mean, take a look at Newton's law of motion, the third law. For every action, there's equal and opposite reaction. So there's whatever you sow, you reap.
And you know, because this whole non-kinetic thing started under the former administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, and because Nigeria is a complex country, and they saw how the presidential amnesty improved oil production and ended the restiveness in the Niger Delta area. But that's, I mean, they were kidnapping, they weren't killing, they were bombing oil installation. I'm not saying
they were not killing,
they were not wiping out entire communities and
I
just
really like that
wanton madness. So the Buhari administration thought, okay,
this is a good approach.
This is a good approach. Let's balance it, since we gave them amnesty in the south. I mean, they're totally
I'm so glad that you
different
mentioned
issues.
this, because this is also what I wanted to add. That if you're saying that, oh, these things, the truth is, you must ask yourself, this action, has it affected another person? Has it cost someone their peace? Okay, even their lives. People have lost their lives. The fact that they are taking lives, they're killing people. You made a decision to carry a bomb into a certain area. You made a decision to carry guns and go and kill people. There are consequences for these actions.
Absolutely.
I agree with you. Let's see what Nigerians are saying very quickly concerning this particular mention or statement made by the senator. When the people in power start negotiating with terrorists, everyone else pays the bill. Hard truth is, you can't build any lasting peace on the foundation of fear and incentives of violence. Ooh. But outside military intervention only masks deeper failures at home. No country gets saved from the outside for free. Nigeria's leaders need spine, not shortcuts, onto the core. Issues are faced head-on. This cycle will just keep repeating no matter who threatens what. Please, what did they say? How did they say it in Gen Z?
Clock it.
Clock this tweet. That's a very powerful message in terms of responding to the video. This man has been in the corridor of power since 1999 as a deputy governor and senator subsequently. What has he done for his people? I'm trying to correct his tweets. What has he done for his people aside hot takes and Nnamdi Kanu's sentiment? Show me his projects. Well, this is not the topic.
Please, in Gen Z speak, what is hot takes?
Hot takes.
I have to translate English for us now.
Well, hot takes would be okay for your generation, I understand. Hot takes is like sharing your opinion on something. Yeah, so it feels like everybody has a hot take. Everybody has an opinion on this.
So on Wake Up Conversations, we also share our hot takes.
Exactly.
Well, I've learned a lot today. Clock it and hot take.
Clock it.
Take that to the bank. That's on period.
Anyway, that's pretty much all the story we're going to take today on Wake Up Conversations. Don't forget that you can be part of the show by dropping a comment or two. We're streaming live on YouTube. You can also watch us live on Facebook, and you can watch us on DSTV, GoTV, and Star Times. Let's bring to you the top stories for today. Let's see what the headlines look like. Spot. We're going to take that story. We'll look at the altercation between the FCT Minister and the Naval officer. There are more developments concerning that. Alleged Christian genocide continues to spark debate. That's another story to look into. And the 2025 budget funding, yes, you did hear that the Senate approved, just to ensure that it's done. And we'll look at the front pages of the newspapers. Stay with us. This is Breakfast Central. Welcome back. The Senate has passed for the second reading a bill seeking to repeal the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency Act and reenact it as the National Primary Healthcare Development Bill 2025. The bill is expected to establish a stronger legal and institutional framework for accessible and quality primary health services for Nigerians. Lawmaker also passed the Informal Sector Employment Regulation Bill 2025 for third reading, marking a major legislative move to formalize and safeguard millions of domestic workers, interns, apprentices, and other informal sector employees across the country. Our National Assembly correspondent, Sagir Ibrahim, brings us more details from Wednesday's plenary.
69,170. Lawmakers settle down for the commencement of the day's business. As they wrap up preliminaries, Majority Leader of the Senate, Okweyemi Bamidele, ahead of the commencement of the day's business, dismissed reports of an alleged attempt to remove the President of the Senate, describing the report as misleading.
There was in fact no discussion around the possibility or otherwise of the removal of His Excellency Distinguished Senator Godswill Akpabio.
As deliberations progressed, a bill seeking to scrap and replace the Primary Healthcare Development Agency Act scaled second reading in the red chambers. The bill, sponsored by Ogun West lawmaker Adiola Solomon, aims to overhaul the country's primary healthcare system.
The current law neither captured the new realities of the universal health coverage and digital health integration, nor the community health insurance. The bill proposed has been designed and structured to ensure that all these gaps are addressed substantially. So this bill calls our attention to the fact that health, Mr. President, is well.
The Senate subsequently referred the bill to the Committee on Primary Healthcare and Communicable Diseases for further legislative action. Lawmakers during Wednesday's deliberations also passed the Informal Sector Employment Regulations Bill 2025 for third reading. The bill, which passed after its report was presented by the Committee on Employment, Labor and Productivity, is a consolidation of two proposals sponsored by Jigawa Northwest lawmaker Hussaini Babangida Uba and Sani Musa, representing Niger East.
Having thoroughly considered the bill, hereby recommends that the Senate do consider and pass the Informal Sector Employment Regulation Bill 2025 as amended.
The philosophical cornerstone behind this bill is to regulate the employment and conditions of service of domestic workers, which hitherto has been left unregulated.
The legislation establishes a legal framework for employment standards, workplace protection, and the formalization of informal labor markets. The bill now awaits concurrence by the House of Representatives before transmission to the President for assent. From the National Assembly, Abuja, for News Central, Sagir Ibrahim.
Nigeria has been listed among the world's hunger hotspots in a joint UN report by the Food and Agriculture Organization and the World Food Programme. According to the report released by two food agencies of the United Nations, they warned that millions of people could face famine as funding shortages worsen already dire humanitarian conditions around the world.
In a joint report released on Wednesday, the Food and Agriculture Organization and the World Food Programme said that the conflict and violence were driving acute food insecurity in most of the high-risk defined countries. The agencies listed Haiti, Mali, Palestine, South Sudan, Sudan, and Yemen as the worst affected nations where populations face an imminent risk of catastrophic hunger. The report revealed that funding for humanitarian relief efforts was falling dangerously short, with only $10.5 billion received out of the $29 billion required to assist those most at risk. Now, joining us to x-ray what this report means for Nigeria is public affairs analyst Dr. Enyinnaya Abaribe. Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Dr. Abaribe, we don't seem to be able to hear you, but I'll just go on with my first question. I want to ask what the implication of this is. The report we got recently was that the price of food is starting to come down. How do we balance that report that we're hearing about the prices of things starting to come down vis-a-vis Nigeria being marked as a country of high concern and, being, what this report means for us?
Okay. Yes, compared to last year, the price of food is relatively down. And of course, we know it's a seasonal thing. This is the time for harvest for most of the farmers who did rain-fed farming. And we know that we have not yet solved the problems that have always been there. It's already known that Nigeria is one country that loses over 3.5 trillion naira worth of its food production to post-harvest losses because of poor storage facilities, because of paucity of refrigerated articulated vehicles that can be used to move items from one corner of Nigeria to the other. Nigeria has a vast land mass of about 923,000 square kilometers. And a lot of other problems that we've identified that we have not yet taken any concerted effort, both at the federal, local government, and the state levels to solve. This is just one part of the news, the FAO news. The other second part, you also saw the World Bank report that stated clear that only 44% of the palliatives or so-called poverty cash rollouts that were meant for the poor households in Nigeria were efficient or actually got to them, either because of inefficiencies, corruption, or other factors that have been identified. I am not surprised because I live in Nigeria, I work in Nigeria, I have many Nigerians under employment in different sectors of the economy, and we clearly see day to day what happened around. Yes, food inflation might have marginally trended down because of what I identified here as seasonal fluctuations, but the question is how sustainable has it been? And again, the purchasing power of the average Nigerian. If, for example, XYZ for food commodity came down by, say, 10-12%, and the purchasing power of the average Nigerian had been eroded by almost 80%, how do you cover the gap? And of course, it's not just enough to identify this. We have, at different times and for profile solutions, credible, sustainable, practicable solutions on what we can do as a country to stem this tide. Today, we have 8.1 million Nigerians in IGP camp. Today, we have 330,000 Nigerians that are living in refugee camps across the West African space, Niger, Chad, and Cameroon. These 8.1 million Nigerians are mostly people from the food belt of the country, uprooted from their homes, uprooted from their communities, taken out from the ecosystem that will have actually contributed actively in providing food for Nigeria. And we have not done anything. We are not yet doing anything to stem the tide. Donald Trump the other day just asked the Nigerian government to take our time to stop the killing, which is at the root cause of the problems we have, the insecurity. Rather holistically acknowledge the situation, irrespective of how it was shaped, and beg the Americans to partner with them to tackle it. All we are busy doing is trying to gaslight, recriminate, and then trying to draw equivalence of who is being killed or who is not being killed, and which is not the way to go. Today in Nigeria, we know what to do to curb the insecurity within a period of 6 months. We know what to do to stem the food, to reduce the poverty level in Nigeria from the current 197 million out of 220 to less than 1 million if we are very, very serious as a people. And that is why we have always said it's not just enough for the UN, the World Bank, the FAO to reel out what we know. We must take practical steps as a people, as a government, to address this situation. Insecurity does not even need America to come in to solve. If those who purport to govern us are the 3 buckets of leadership, 3 tiers and levels of leadership and arms of leadership, understand truly that the one single obligation of any government in any place in any society is protection of lives and properties, without which that government does not, is not fit to be in power. They will have done better. Dauda Lawal, the governor of Zamfara State, stated it clearly, it's on record, that if he had control of the army and the state apparatus to tackle insecurity, that he will have done it in 2 months. In 2 months, he knows where the bandits are, they know where they are hiding, and they can destroy and fish them out in 2 months. That was a very revealing statement. And it's almost going to 1.5 years since he made that revelation. Up till now, nothing had been done by those in Abuja, even those at the state and regional level, even the international institutions, to work together to tackle it. And that is where the problem is.
All right. Let's invite Mr. Emmanuel Osemeka, who is here with us. He's the Executive Director, Civil Society Center for Humanitarian and Development Affairs. Thank you for joining this conversation. We'd like you to tie in quickly with your thoughts and let us know what you really think about this latest development. I mean, if we look at names like Mali, Haiti, Palestine, South Sudan, Yemen as worst affected nations, and here you have Nigeria. What's your take on this?
Morning, and thank you for having me. I think the situation we find ourselves as a country is very clear. Unfortunately, we're in a season or a period where the entire globe is currently exacerbated with all manners of humanitarian challenges. I mean, from the report, you can see clearly that the field, is spread wide. We're no longer talking about just Syria, Afghanistan, and Nigeria, and probably Djibouti, the Horn of Africa, which has always been in the news. We're now talking about much more. The numbers have increased. You're talking about Gaza in Palestine. You are talking about several other countries. So when you look critically, you will see why the executive director of WFP World Food Program and of course the FAO, who their sister organizations, began to raise the alarm. And I mean, if they have from the budget 29 billion that is meant to support humanitarian aid, food assistance to the most vulnerable across the globe, which Nigeria is also a part of. And they've only been able to raise $10 billion out of the 29 billion. You will clearly know that there will be what you call prioritization. And that prioritization, which in our own, we can call scale of preference, is that Gaza comes first because their own level of humanitarian need is higher than that of Nigeria. I mean, you look at other countries, look at Sudan. Sudan is a war-torn country. Nigeria is currently not necessarily war-torn, but of course we have our challenges, just like my brother who spoke before me, clearly enumerated. So the challenges are there. But the peculiarity with Nigeria is to the extent that, yes, 8.1 million IDPs, both direct and indirect, displaced people, who are currently food insufficient and who also need all manners of humanitarian aid. We're also talking about over 135 million Nigerians who are currently multidimensionally poor. So it's not something you look at in isolation. Without going back to what the last speaker talked about, we all know clearly what the issues are. Benue State for the last 10 years have suffered heavily, and Benue State is a food basket, one of the major food baskets of the country. So you look at Benue, Nasarawa, you look at Kebbi, you look at Zamfara. These are major food belts. You look at Taraba, for example. I mean, so these are major food belts of the country. And unfortunately, we have a lot of smallholder farmers in these regions, and they've not been able to farm or cultivate their farms. Even when they try, the output is usually very minimal because of insecurity. So I think the major thing first is to increase our advocacy with the multilateral organizations to ensure that the support we get will focus more on the smallholder farmers who have always aided, food support for their various communities. And because of that, in banditry and insecurity, a lot of these farmers have migrated. That's actually where the major challenge is right now. There's been serious rural urban migration in Nigeria. Yeah.
So thank you so much, Mr. Osemeka. I'd like to come back to Dr. Obiari. Multiple factors responsible for why we find ourselves here. Dr. Obiari, in your opening statement, you did mention quite a number of reasons why we're here, and you also spoke to the economic perspective of low purchasing power of the people. They say history is very important in order to know where you're coming from, so you know where you're going to. How did we find ourselves here in the first place? Nigeria is a nation that is blessed with the arable land. They say you don't even need fertilizer to plant in so many areas, and we have quite a huge landmark. So how did we find ourselves here in the first place? And is there hope? Can we change the situation? And yes.
It's very, very clear and known. Before the emergence of the Buhari government in 2015, we had insecurity in the northeast of Nigeria and part of the Middle Belt. And of course, before Jonathan exited, he, working with the Chief of Army Staff then, General Enyinnaya, were actually on the verge of decimating Boko Haram. They were practically on it. It was alleged that they brought in missionaries from South Africa and other places, and they were concentrated on doing it. And of course, Kawu Baraje, the former APC chieftain, said it gleefully before the whole world that most of the militia and bandits that came into Nigeria were imported from other parts of the Sahel by those in APC to checkmate Jonathan, because they were thinking that maybe he will not hand over power. And of course, Jonathan considered the election, and the rest is history. Since that time till now, Nigeria had not known peace. The insecurity had not just only exacerbated in the northeast, it has actually moved to the northwest and the southeast and other part of Nigeria that used to be very safe and secured zones. And interestingly, what governments after government at all levels have been doing is to play politics. I read the other day in Borno State, over 6 billion naira was used to rehabilitate the poor, the repentant criminals and rapists and murderers. You ask yourself this question: how much did they apply to rehabilitate the 8.1 million in IDP camps? You saw the other day, everywhere you go, you tune in, you will see governors hosting peace palace with bandits, with criminals, rolling, decked in with sophisticated weapons, rapid grenades, mingling with the military and the police. How do you solve insecurity in such an atmosphere where bandits can come out openly in public? It's not as if the north or other parts of Nigeria is so huge or is so densely or thickly forested like Vietnam or other part of the world. If we want to sort out this problem, we know what to do. We know where we started fighting us. We have said it here. The current security architecture of Nigeria, as currently structured, is not working and can never work. Under Buhari, we wasted 12 trillion naira, which is about $25 billion converted in dollar, and $1 billion that they used to import the Tucanos and everything, that we have not yet seen their efficiency. $27 billion wasted on insecurity, and yet it festers.
Mr. Abaribe, I want to push back, a little on what you're saying. You're talking about what failed during President Buhari's tenure. Now we're looking at President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We are facing an insecurity challenge.
I am coming. The current Tinubu government is an extension of Buhari. It's not the APC. I said over the last 10 years. I'm coming. And it has even worsened under the current situation. Because if you look at MBS report in 2024, which is a record under the Tinubu's government, you will see clearly 600,000 Nigerians were murdered in 1 year. 2.2 million Nigerians kidnapped. 2.2 trillion naira ransom paid, and we are still not found solutions on how to tackle this bad. We are still doing amnesty to them. We are still rolling out packages. The other day, it was one other state like that gave them 2 billion. What we will do, the state governor provided solutions to this, and which is what we have always advocated. Hand over security to the communities, to the local government areas, to the regions. And how do we do it? We know that the lowest hanging fruit is agriculture. The North has over 60 million hectares of arable land mass. In the Southwest, we have almost about 19 million hectares. In the Northeast, Southeast, we have, which is the smallest land mass, we have over 2.8 million hectares of land mass. What we will do is very simple. If to the federal government of Nigeria and the state governments and the local government decide to do the right and honorable thing, they've been borrowing every month 1 trillion, 2.3 billion, everything they've been borrowing without any result to show for it. What we want them to do is very simple. If they borrow $15 billion today, $15 billion for agro clusters and $6 billion for security diversification, I'll tell you what they will do. Create 2,500 agro-industrial parks, 1,000 to 2,000 hectares each. It will take $6 million to establish these agro-industrial parks that will provide all the infrastructure, all the mechanized arrangements, all the technology, and everything to drive it. $3.7 billion will help us set up 100 agro rangers in each of the wards, which will provide at least 4 to 1,000 agro rangers for each agro cluster. We will equip them with AK-47 in every local government area under the same agro rangers control, under the National Security Advisor and the state coordinator appointed by the governor and the federal government of Nigeria. We will have 4 armored personnel carriers produced by Innocent and Nord in every local government. We will have drones in all the electoral wards. We have Tenkoso dogs. We will have motorized and motorbiked agro rangers, fully equipped and fully trained. Let me tell you what will happen. If you have these people fully remunerated, $1.6 billion annually, that is what we do. We have done the numbers, a 400-page document on how we can tackle it. Let me tell you what will happen. Security is indigenous. If it's Zamfara State where you have 13 local government areas, you have these agro rangers manning 4 armored personnel carriers in each of these local government areas, and they have the requisite equipment. With the governor of the state, who is very passionate about securing his state, and the state coordinator championing it, I tell you of a truth, and I kid you not, in 6 months, we don't need American boots or anything on ground. You will look for these bandits, ISWAP, Boko Haram, or non-governments. You will look for them anywhere, you will not see them. It will take us $21 billion to do this. And I will tell you, from each of these agro parks, we will be generating nothing less than $42 million every year. That is over $190 to $200 billion, not our revenue brought into this country. And over 20 million jobs created, jobs that pays nothing less than $300,000 every month. We will have over 10 million agripreneur millionaires created. And that is the truth, and that is the only way to go. Okay. We are not the only country. It's so shameful that we are being classified alongside Yemen, alongside Somalia. There is no excuse. United Nations has $29 billion which they provided for intervention. We don't need the 29 billion. We can actually donate that money to United Nations to tackle other countries if we are very sincere. But the problem we have in Nigeria, across party line, across regions, across local government areas, across the we have positive supply of quality, patriotic, honest, and dedicated leaders who see leadership in the same eyes as Michael Okpara, with the same eyes as Latif Jokonde, with the same eyes as Desamu Mbakwe. Practically what we have today are higher links, We are only after what they will steal, what they will loot, what they will kill, what they will destroy. And that is why we are where we are today. And we as a people are also not insulated. We are complicit because we are practically dissolved ourselves into our ethno-religious cleavages. Everything in Nigeria is seen from the religious and ethnic perspective. Nobody looks at things from the humanity perspective, that every one single Nigerian killed is a destruction of our humanity, irrespective of the race, the ethnicity, the religion, and the color of the person. We all bleed red, and every single life wasted, Muslim or Christian, counts against each and every one of us and totally diminishes our humanity.
All right, I want to bring Mr. Osemeka into the conversation as well. Let's still talk a little about insecurity. Mr. Dr. Abaribe has expanded on what the ills are regarding insecurity and how our current administration is handling it with kid gloves. I want to talk particularly about the amnesty that is given to terrorists and this non-kinetic approach that the government applies to deal with or to make peace with these people who have, inflicted terror and mayhem on Nigerian citizens. How effective an approach do you think this is and has been? And if it isn't an effective approach, what would you have to say to the government if you had the opportunity to advise them regarding their non-kinetic approach?
Okay, thank you very much. I think we need to be very, very careful when we talk about security and, all the apportionment that is associated with it. Nigeria is a very complex country. We must be really, really very careful. I was in the Northeast region for 8 years plus. I was boots on ground. I traveled the length and breadth of the Mandara zones, supported IDPs for years, survived over 13 suicide attacks, lost staff, lost vehicles, lost so many things. I still have my PTSD till tomorrow. I saw soldiers who woke up in the morning, went to provide security for us, and they came back dead. I saw civilians who were just trying to leave, and in the next second, they were dead. I had staff who came in to work, support, and they couldn't go back to their families because they finally died. So this is where I'm coming from, and this is why I said we need to be very careful. Security is a very complex situation. I'm not a security expert. I'm a humanitarian aid worker, and I've done it for more than 15 years. I will be very honest with us. Across the length and breadth of Nigeria, security situation in the Southeast is not the same as security situation in the North Central. It's not the same as security situation in the Northeast. Yes, we can look at many factors militating and pushing the food insecurity in Nigeria. We've looked at security. There are also natural disasters. Don't forget, for 2-3 years running consecutively, we've had issues of flooding. There are floodings destroying, farming activities in Nasarawa, destroying farming activities in Kebbi, destroying farming activities in Niger State, destroying farming activities in different parts of the country. So it's not just insecurity that is the issue. So take, for example, a state like Anambra State. They vote heavily on security, but yet the insecurity still pervades. If you go across at least 27 states in Nigeria, each of these states have one form of vigilante services or homegrown security apparatus or thereabout. Many of them also have been armed, yet the insecurity is not abating. So the question is, what is the problem? The issue is that the politicians must tell themselves the truth. Politicians must sit down and create what we've always advocated, elite consensus. When that happens, these insecurities will begin to fizzle out. It's not enough for us to produce papers and what have you. The implementation is not always the same. I've been in this for many years. I've seen documents that looks so great, but when you bring it to the field, it is unimplementable. One of the challenges I have with some of the laudable programs that the government have put forward for many years is this idea of handing out cash to people in the name of empowerment. For all I care, that is wastage. I mean, under Buhari's administration, and of course this government, we've received funds from Abacha, supposed Abacha loot, and we fritter these monies away in the name of giving to the poorest of the poor. Whereas those monies could have been used, could have used those monies to create industries that would employ people and create some level of sustainability, around those funds. So there are many proposals that are gathering dust, on government shelves or the multilateral organizations, but the reality is that we've consistently reinforced failure, and that's why we're where we are. If you look at Niger State, for example, the Niger State government, the governor calls himself Farmer Bago because he has chosen farming activity as his, the forefront of his administration. He created a company that, strictly focuses on farming and is empowering smallholder farmers across different local government and wards in the state. It's not a one-day job. It takes time. There used to be serious insecurity in that place, but the farming activities has helped greatly. But the insecurity situation has not abated still. Why? Because you still do not have what we have termed as elite consensus. Until we have, and we are able to gather the elites together, and they're able to understand that until you have a country, you cannot even talk about leadership, because you don't know who will be the next victim. That is why I always say that we need to be careful. Some of the things we, postulate, the ideas might be laudable, beautiful, excellent.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, we need to be careful. Yeah.
All right. I wish we had more time to continue this conversation, but I want to say thank you so much. We look forward to have you back again so we can look at the response, because I'm sure the federal government will indeed throw its weight behind this conversation from the United Nations. Thank you, Mr. Emmanuel Osemeka, and also Dr. Nnameka Abaribe for speaking with us this morning, and we wish you a beautiful day ahead. Thank you. All right, we'll go on a quick break, but first let's tell you what's coming up next here on Breakfast Central.
On Breakfast Central, coming up next, we'll be looking at still the Minister of the FCT versus the Naval officer, and the Christian genocide sparks continuous debate. We'll also be speaking about Abuja land use violations. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. A viral video over a disputed plot of land recently showed an altercation between the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, and a naval officer in Abuja. The Honourable Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, was seen in a heated exchange with a uniformed naval officer. The minister had demanded access to a piece of land that had been a bone of contention between the FCTA officials and a retired vice admiral. But the naval officer placed in charge of securing the property stood his ground, insisting he was acting on orders from a superior officer. Tempers rose, cameras rolled, and the nation watched as the entire drama unfolded.
This is government property. Show me the document you have. You have no document.
So what documents?
Bring the document.
You have documents And everything has been submitted, sir.
Excuse me, I'm the minister.
Yes, sir.
You cannot tell me. You cannot tell me that. We cannot continue to act in this impunity. Where your approval is even to build. You cannot continue this way. This country cannot continue along this line. How can that man at his level, even if he has a problem, he cannot reach me and say, look, I'm sorry, see what I have. You will send soldiers to intimidate who? We are all from this country. And this is government. You cannot be higher than any government. You cannot be carrying gun to intimidate people to not to do their work. Let me tell you, if not going to achieve for the first staff, who spoke to me now, you could have killed everybody here. No problem.
Different clips of this interaction and movement has caused reactions from different corners of the nation. We've seen several people reacting to this and sharing their thoughts. But what does this mean for us? Where do we place the blame? And joining us to analyze this is human rights activist and lawyer, DG Adeyanju. Good morning and thank you very much for joining us. From that clip we played, you could see the FCT minister basically inferring that they hadn't properly perfected the title to the land or there was some illegality. We don't know the full picture regarding that piece of property. He's accused them of using military personnel to threaten and intimidate the government. There are those who would also argue that Section 1 of the Land Use Act, vests the power and authority or the ownership of the land to the state, and that the governor holds it in trust for the people. But let's get first your reaction to that video when you first saw it, and then we'll go into the legal angle.
Yes, basically, Nyesom Wike has a penchant for always bullying people, harassing people. Since he became Minister of the FCT, I know so many cases where he has gone to demolish people's lands without due process, following due process of law. In some cases, there was even a house he demolished in Aso Drive where the person had run to court.
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yes, where the person had run to court and the matter was already in court. He still went ahead and demolished the house. He has annexed land adjacent to his home in Guzape, area of Asokoro Extension. He has taken people's land when people have even gone to court, went to Archbishop John Onayekon to beg. The man went to see him. He still did not. He went ahead and demolished people's houses that they got and annexed them to his property. So Section 1 of the Land Use Act is very clear. You understand? And other provisions of the Land Use Act is very clear. The governors shall, that all land is vested in the governor, that the governor shall hold it in trust for the people. The governor shall not hold it in trust for himself, his father, or his children, or his friends, or his cronies, like Nyesom Wike is doing. Nyesom Wike, what he's doing, there is no society, just society, equitable society, that will allow what Nyesom Wike is doing. The only reason why Nyesom Wike is allowed to do all these things that he's doing is because of that he wrote results for the president. He wrote results for the president in Rivers State. That is the only justification. You understand? Aside that, there is no human justification whatsoever for what Nyesom Wike is doing. No government, even the military regime, will allow what Nyesom Wike is doing in Abuja.
Now, Mr. Adeyanju, if I may come in here, because we don't have a party representing Mr. Wike on the panel this morning, so I'll just play devil's advocate and ask questions on their behalf, because they'll be wondering if they're watching that, where do you have evidence that, the FCT minister is holding land in trust of his cronies, his children, and what's the evidence that he wrote results for Mr. President in Rivers State? He's not a member of the Independent National Electoral Commission. So these are very serious allegations that you're alleging on national television.
These allegations have been made by other people.
We would like you to throw some evidence and light behind it.
See, the evidence is in public domain. There's nothing I'm saying here today that is not in public domain. You understand? The elections in Rivers was rigged. Everybody knows. What are we talking about?
Okay, Mr. Adeyanju.
Being economical with the truth. The fact speaks for themselves. The issue of him annexing land for his father, he allocated people's land that were taken in Guzapi and other areas of Abuja, choice areas. He allocated for his children. There's a People's Gazette report on this. He allocated for himself, allocated for his own father, allocated for his cronies, for his friends, for his political ally. Who does that? Even the Land Use Act is very clear that revocation of land, that it can only be done in overriding public interest. For instance, if you want to build an airport, you want to build a train station, you want to build a general hospital, you want to build a railway, that is the only condition precedent for revoking land under the Land Use Act. You cannot revoke Mr. A's land and give it to Mr. B. Even when Mr. A is crying that this land, I have paid all the dues, this land belongs to me, the man has rushed to court. On this subject matter, the only reason why we are hearing this now is that he has gone to touch the land of a big man. He has been doing this, demolishing people's houses, grabbing people's land since he became FCT minister, thousands of people in the FCT. But we've not heard of this because these are powerless people that cannot challenge him. So for the first time, yes, the military does not have, should ordinarily not be in a place where they are safeguarding land or property. The military should be safeguarding the territorial integrity of our country, to protect our sovereignty. But this is what lawlessness, this is what Wike has reduced the Federal Capital Territory to. The Federal Capital Territory stinks. Once there's a little rain around Area 1, we say to Metama everywhere, even in Asokoro, the entire places is flooded because the drainages are not clean. You understand? So the things that he should be focusing on, he's not. All he does is moving around grabbing people's land. So there's nothing that I've said here, or I'm going to say that you cannot fact check me to go and see that these things are in public domain. You cannot steal people's land and give to your family members.
All right, Mr.
You cannot steal people's land and give to your friends and your cronies and your political allies. It's wrong.
Just to highlight that we had reached out to the SA to the FCT Minister, Mr. Lere Olayinka. Unfortunately, he couldn't join this interview. He said he was on our other programs earlier on, so that would actually
Lere is a jobless person. Even if you have told me that Lere is coming here.
Even
if you have told me that Lere is coming here, there is no way I will join. I will have accepted to be in an interview with Lere. Because somebody does not have a job. Somebody that worked for Fellowship for 8 years, but could not even put his life together.
But anyway, Barrister Adeoju, Lere is not our conversation here. Like I said, we have reached out to him.
You're the one that raised him.
But
Lere is not somebody I can debate on any issue. Someone that doesn't have character.
Okay.
That's fine. Can we move on now? Just to mention that we're aware that you led the call for the revocation of lands, especially the ones that you mentioned earlier on concerning lands that, in quotes, were allegedly grabbed by the FCT minister to be given to his sons. What happened to that? Have you taken the matter to court? Is it in court? Is there any proceedings concerning that?
Yes, there are a few number of steps that we have taken. Representing my client, Omaele Shore, there's a matter in the US that we are following very closely and working with lawyers in the US as well. We believe that majority of the land that has been grabbed by the FCT minister are going to be recovered, because the law is very clear that you cannot take people's land and allocate to others. You understand? It's a contravention and violation of the Land Use Act. The governor does not have the power. He has acted ultra-vires the powers conferred on him. If he had taken the land for overriding public interest, then that would have been an exception. But the exception has not arisen in the instant case, and the instant cases relating to majority of the land that the FCT minister has grabbed. Some of these matters are already in court, and citizens can be rest assured that these things will not stand. He's not the first FCT minister that has tried to grab people's land. But things like this have never stood the test of time. There are those that say, oh, if you rush to court, Wike is already in the court waiting for you. I laugh. The truth of the matter is that ministers have come, FCT ministers have come and gone. Wike will not be the first and he will not be the last FCT minister. The truth is, everybody knows that even the people around the president are tired of Wike. He is one of the most overbearing person that anybody can deal with. You can see what he did to Fubara in Rivers State and several other people.
All right.
There's nobody that Wike is with today that he will not betray.
We'll come back to explore this conversation even further, but let's go on a very quick break. Please stay with us. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We're still looking at the recent altercation that has gone viral between the Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, and the Naval officer, Enyinnaya. But we are having here in the studio virtually the human rights lawyer and activist joining us. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you again.
I want us to go back and speak to the legality or otherwise, before we come into the physical altercation, the legality or otherwise of how this matter was handled. The FCT minister said that government officials from the FCT Department of Control were chased away from the site by soldiers. So if we go by what the FCT minister had said, would that have been a way to go about it, or should there have been a different approach to sorting out the perfection of the title to the land, or the legality of the ownership of the land or otherwise?
Yeah, so I have been privileged to speak with the lawyer handling this matter, that's been handling this matter for quite some time. I have seen documents and correspondences between the estate that was allocated to the land, Santos Properties and its subsidiaries, and also the AMAC. This land was allocated to them about 15 years ago. I have seen that they've paid all the dues. The land is for parks and recreation. But since Wike came, people have been saying that his people from Ekwere, that they have something there's something with them and land grabbing. But I don't want to believe it. But since he came, he has been turning parks, and gardens into residential buildings, because he wants to recreate a new dynamics in the FCT for ownership of land. So I think he has had a meeting probably with his cronies that, we want to be the new landlord with his children and his family members. So he is allocating land in hectares, not in square meters, in hectares to his family members, his friends. So any parts he sees, he has taken people's parts in Metama, Asukoro, Guzape, all over the town. So this land is in far away Dadua. So these people were given this land 15 years ago. They got all the necessary papers. I've seen all the necessary papers that they've had. They've dealt with and exchanged correspondence with different FCT ministers over the years. And equally him. But immediately they've cleared the area, put facilities there, compensated the locals and indigenous around the place, and they are in possession. And the position of the law, that possession is 9/10 of the law. They are in possession of the place. They've been in possession of the place for about 15 years. So he went there, he saw that the land was attractive, he wanted to take the place, and they resisted him. So they started having meetings with the FCDA. So they met with the FCDA over the issue. And for peace to reign, they said, the man desperately wants the place. They said, okay, out of the 30 hectares, we'll give 8 hectares back to FCTA. So that he can, whatever he wants to use with the land, let him use it. So, but the man refused. The man said he must take the entire place, which is what he has been doing all over town. That he must take the entire 30 hectares. And the people said, no, you can never. You will not. This land belongs to us. That because we've even considered to return 8 hectares is out of our goodwill. It's because we just feel we want peace to reign. And the man said, typical of him, said he must take the land. That he's the minister. There is no such power. The law has vested the land in the governor. The governor is to hold the land in trust for the people. The governor is not to grab the land by force, by creating a task force and invading the land. No, you cannot. That is trespass. Once you gather a task force in contravention with the law, you have not complied. In fact, there are procedures that you must follow. That, for instance, you must stipulate that, this land, the reason why I want to take this land is because, not because you want to convert a park to residential homes. You revoke without giving In fact, if you wanted to even do that, the people who got the approval should have gotten the right of first refusal. They should have gotten the right of first refusal to say, oh, we want to change this from parks and gardens and recreation to residential. So you give them the right to first refusal. It is when they refuse or refuse to pay that you now say, oh, for that reason, since it's developmental purposes, that, oh, we now want to sell to the public. No! You sit down in your office with a biro and say, approve to so person. You revoke somebody else's land. Mr. A's land, give it to Mr. B. Secondly, the issue of Wike invading the land, which is trespass implicit. The issue of Wike invading the land. Before he went to the land, Wike had called the CDS and the Chief of Naval Staff, CNS. And they had told him that, don't worry, we will investigate the matter and get back to you. No, he did not wait for them to get back to him. He proceeded to the land in a brigandage manner, that he would take the land by force. If it was an ordinary man's land, like this is the way he has been doing. There was a widow in Asokoro that he went and demolished her home. She and her children were on the house. There was no appeal that they didn't make. We visited the plot during the demolition. Wike went ahead and demolished the entire woman's plot, just right by his house. And you will be shocked to hear the person he allocated the land of the widow, he demolished their house. So this is what he has been doing. He's a land grabber. You understand? He does not believe in rule of law. So, but he was resisted because he met a higher power. The military should be his forest. But when you live in a society where people like Wike do not follow the rule, then everybody will resort to self-help. And this is not to say that resorting to self-help is a welcome idea, but this is what Wike has pushed people to. That people no longer have trust or faith in going to court. Many people have even said, oh, before you get to court, Wike is already in the court waiting for you. You understand? Which is really a sad paradox of some sort. But the truth of the matter is that people must have confidence in the courts. People must approach the court for remedy. Immediately, the first step that you should do, immediately you hear that Wike wants to grab your land, the first thing you should do is you should run to court. You should go to court, file processes, and serve him. So that, because majority of this land that is grabbing, they will still be taken back. And the truth of the matter is that some of these things that Wike is doing has both economic and environmental implication. Because if a land under the Abuja Master Plan has been designed parks and recreation, you see that majority of those things, those parks and recreation, there are underground tunnels, the way Abuja was designed, for channeling of drainages and all this. So when you now tamper with the Abuja Master Plan, it simply means, and this is why flooding, if there is little rain, it simply means the town will be in danger in the nearest future. Secondly, many banks now in the FCT no longer accept landed property as collateral in the bank. And the Land Use Act, one of the innovations of the Land Use Act is that land is an economic valued asset.
All right.
For societal engineering and development. So when banks begin to say, oh, title in Abuja is no longer safe and sound, that, oh, if this person uses his land or his property for collateral, tomorrow Wike can come and take it. Then it simply means that Wike is tampering with the economic development of the country. And
right.
The president needs votes in Rivers State. The president needs votes in Rivers State. But is that what's destroying our economy and the environment of the FCT?
Right.
Knowing fully well that the FCT is like the Washington of Africa.
And it really it's unfortunate to see how these things have turned out, DG, and now it's become a butt of jokes on social media. Comedians have started to make skit about it. And we certainly believe this could have been handled better and handled differently. But we've run out of time now. We need to go on a break. Thank you very much, DG Adeyanju, for joining us.
Thank you sincerely for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you so
All
much.
right. Very sad scenario there, but we'll have to head to our next conversation real quick.
That's right.
Now, the debate over alleged Christian genocide in Nigeria continues to dominate headlines. From U.S. President Donald Trump to Nigeria's federal government, the Christian Association of Nigeria, Northern Groups and Islamic Scholars, the conversation has become one of the most divisive topics in recent weeks. Recall that President Trump had accused the Nigerian government of allowing the killing of more than more than 3,100 Christians in a single year and has threatened military action.
Well, while the U.S. lawmakers push for a ban on Sharia law and sanctions against the Bayeti Allah organization, the Northern Elders Forum and the coalition of Northern groups have rejected the move, describing it as a direct attack on Islam. Renowned Islamic cleric Sheikh Ahmed Gumi has also weighed in, insisting that bandits are reasonable human beings who should be pacified rather than eliminated. He argues that Muslims are also being killed in large numbers and have called for balanced reporting and verified data. Well, let's also tell you that on the other hand, Reverend Ezekiel Dachomo, regional chairman of the Church of Christ in Nations, that's Kosin in Plateau State, maintains that the violence is a deliberate and coordinated assault on Christian communities. He was here in an exclusive chat with Blessings Mosugo of News Central. Let's bring you a little snippet of that.
We're just moving, we are just enjoying it, pressing it down. Women are being raped. Come and see, we have to be slave to the Islamic terrorists. They will force you to go and farm for them. If our local native people did not go and farm for them, this is where I grown up. And the Fulani knows that that is my village. They invented chanting Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, sporadic shooting all over the village from different angles. And this is the sound of their guns. I don't know whether it comes from, is it Iraq or Iran or anything. You hear kukum, 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 kukum. This is the sound of the terrorists in Islam. And when they enter the village, and this is what happened. They move after that night. Those that were able to escape helter-skelter, they were able to go and hide. Then they burned the villages. I was called. I have to take a journalist to that village the following morning because I wanted to go down there. They said, no, don't come this night. They can do something for you. I was crying. I couldn't sleep. My wife is here with me. She knows I was restless in Bukuru that time. Until when it was in the morning, I was able to move. Come and see children that came out from the bush and they were in trauma. Women that hid themselves and went reluctantly into the village. The youths that escaped, they gathered themselves and come back into the village. They were following me into the house. What will I see? I was able to see my grandmother that I grown up with in Gomata. And the youths were challenging me that they want us to bring something for their self-defense. And we didn't do anything. And look at it here. When I saw her corpse, the youths are the one that opened her chest for me. And I saw a broken knife. There was no heart.
What I can see clearly is why do you put the list of Christians killed without a corresponding list of Muslims killed? Muslims in the southern Kaduna or in Plateau are killed in the thousands. And it's not only the militias they are killing them, even the Air Force have bombarded and killed so many villagers like that. So why don't we have a list of that? Why don't we have the list of the Tudumbiri people that we have massacred during their celebrations? Why don't you put those who were slaughtered in the boss? Why don't you put the image of Major General Al-Khali? So many cases. I think we Muslims, what we need to do now is to bring out to public the names of those who are killed and massacred in the southern, in the Middle Belt region. That is a mandatory for us now, so that the string of the information will not tilt against what is happening. It's two people fighting. It's a case of two-sided fight.
These are two separate interviews here, exclusive to News Central Television, and we've played them with you just so you get a sense of what both sides of the divide are saying. But joining us this morning is the chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria, Northern State and the FCT, Reverend Joseph Hayab. Good morning, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Reverend Dachumo painted a very gory picture of what the reality is in certain parts of the country, and he's made very strong claims about the killings of Christians in Plateau State. As the chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria, I'm sure that you have maybe first-hand account in terms of churches, individuals that maybe have experienced this, have reported this, or maybe your personal experience. Would you say that you agree with the picture that has been painted by Reverend Dachumo? Is that the reality of what it is?
Sincerely speaking, sometimes when I go into this conversation, I also get emotional like Reverend Dachumo. But because of leadership, one has been training himself, composing himself to swallow his emotion, not to be shedding tears in public spaces, but the pains is always there. The night Reverend Victor Nee preached in my church, and the next day he was burnt to death. We carry his corpse like that of a small baby. Victor Nee served in the Nigerian army and retired before going to the seminary. You can imagine, he's a very tall human being. He was the pastor of the Alheri Baptist Church in Gwankanawa, the English section, and he was burnt to death. The fact that when they went out checking for his corpse, no one could identify his corpse. What makes our people know that that was his corpse is his son, who saw the shoe near that small baby's corpse and said, but this is my father's shoe. Then they realized that, yeah, it's the corpse of that man. So we have dozens of stories like this to tell. But this is life. It has happened. What we need is to find a way out. And that's why some of us believe that the reason why we keep this conversation like this is because some people keep denying it. I'm shocked to hear in the interview you played words that were used by Sheikh Gumi and others. I expect Sheikh Gumi is supposed to be a stakeholder. Sheikh Gumi is supposed to be honest to himself. Sheikh Gumi is supposed to be honest to the Nigerian Christians in northern Nigeria and honest even to his Muslim colleagues by ensuring that he speaks words that unite, words that will bring healing. But further exaggerating and twisting stories just make the whole matter continue to escalate. But for us as Christians, we know we've been killed. For us as Christians, we have buried so many. For us as Christians, we have suffered so much persecution. Look, when I begin this story, I always remind people that these killings of Christians didn't start now. So nobody should be confusing the story with this current government. Because I think people to play politics, they are doing it because Tinubu. For me, I can even tell people that when Tinubu came, we've even have some small relief, not complete, but at least a change, a shift. But in the past, I was burying people in hundreds. I was burying 50, 30 every week. And I remember that in 2000, we buried over 2,000 people during the Sharia crisis. In 2002, I buried over 300 people during the Miss World Beauty Pageant crisis. In 2006, Christians were killed in Bauchi and Borno, in Gombe and other places. We buried them because of other issues that we have no business with. And then when Boko Haram came up in 2009, because Nigeria needs to know this in perspective, that before 2009, most of the issues were Muslim killing Christians. We were not using the term genocide. We were not using the term terrorists until Boko Haram came and we started having. So Islamic fundamentalists have been killed. And when you look at the entire setup of the terrorists that have been tormenting Christians in northern Nigeria, they are promoting an Islamic ideology. They didn't come to defend Christians. So when people come to argue with us and tell us, no, these terrorists are killing Muslims, see, they only began to kill Muslims when they had killed Christians, and few Muslims who understand that this is not good testimony for their faith, started resisting them, then they killed them. But they have been focusing on killing Christians. Someone the other day in one of the medium came out and said, no, he has statistics where more Muslims have been killed than Christians. And I said, no, sir. I also have statistics that clearly shows that in the past years, more Christians have been killed. The fact is that I want to really quote the figure. Over 16,000 Christians between 2000 to 2000.
Hello, Reverend Hayab. Are you still with us?
Okay, we're hoping that we can reconnect. I mean, those are such
terrible numbers. Well, there's still quite a lot to unpack. The federal government's response, and they've been on a diplomatic offensive. But we have Reverend Enyinnaya back. Please, you can complete your thoughts.
Yeah, so the figures are there, and they are not what we need to be debating and lying about, because what we really need today in Nigeria is people coming out to admit the truth that, yes, people came and killed fellow citizens hiding under the name of our religion. And we have realized that our silence has been too long. Now we want to identify with our neighbors, identify with the Christians in Nigeria and say, nobody should harm them in the name of religion. Then we will start talking. But to tell us that, no, those things do not happen, and to further even lie that so number of Muslims were killed, it just makes this whole, looks like competition. I came to report your son, or someone who came to present himself as a son, that he has burnt my house. Instead of commiserating and sympathizing with me, you are now telling me he also burnt my house. I think that's not the right way a parent or a responsible leader should do. Those who I'm happy that there are prominent Islamic leaders who are beginning to speak out now. And I say, look, we know when our Malams, we are going out there and saying, kill them. They are infidels, they are kafiris, they are armies. This is where we find ourselves, where we are. In one of the documents I read this morning, the document is saying that Gumi claimed that Christians used to have coffins that are empty and claim to be burying people. No, that is too bad. That shows that we have people in this country who do not care what is happening to their fellow citizens. And that's why government must sit up and wake up. So when you begin to accuse Trump for what he says, or Ted Cruz for his bill, you can see the kind of attitude we have around us.
Thank you so much, Reverend Enyinnaya, for sharing your personal testimony. It's never easy talking about the stories. And you ended your submission by saying the government must sit up and respond to these issues. And sitting up is what they are doing, according to the Nigerian government. They have denied that there's a Christian genocide in Nigeria, and they said what we have is a security problem. And this has gone beyond the borders of Nigeria. Like you rightly said, Senator Ted Cruz, and the United States President has been very vocal on this. He said Christians in Nigeria are facing an existential crisis. Nigeria has been on a diplomatic offensive. We've had the Minister of Foreign Affairs. He was on Piers Morgan's show 2 nights ago, and they've been doing rounds, and other senior government officials on International News Network. And what they often say, the line they say, is that Nigeria has a terrorism problem, which is true, and that, Muslims are also victims of these violent extremist groups, that when you say it's a Christian problem, you're not acknowledging the other side of it, that Muslims are also human beings, that what we should be talking about now is the sanctity of all life. All life is important. Atheist, Christian, Muslim, all life is important, and that this has a way of, fostering more divisions, and what we should be talking about is dealing with our terrorism issues. How do you respond to that, Reverend?
Yeah, we all agree. You see, when this whole madness started, the terrorists were going after Christians, and that is what we want our neighbors to acknowledge. When they killed Oji in Borno, they didn't kill him because he's just a human being. They killed him because he's a Christian. He even made a very strong statement and say, go and tell my brothers I die well. I remember sharing this story of Oji last week, and when Mrs. Oji read about it, she reached out to me and said, thank God you remind the world how my husband died. My consolation is that what he said, tell my brothers I die well. Because myself, Pastor Ladi Thompson, and Papa Ayo, and Reverend Wale Adefarasi in Lagos have to find a way of moving Mrs. Oji to Lagos to stay there for her safety when her husband was killed. I remember telling Nigerians that I went to Ekotipene to bury Sylvester Osonobon, who was also killed. But Pastor Bitrus Yakubu was of Maiduguri. His brother was then the medical director of Maiduguri General Hospital. They buried him in Maiduguri and only took his wife away to Just. You tell me that these people is just killing? No, they went out to the church. My church was burnt down and many of the branches of the Baptist church were closed up, coking, EYN. The fact about it is that for people to know, the terrorists took over our Baptist seminary or college in Gombe to become their camp for many years. So people wouldn't tell us that. We understand that when they now couldn't find us to kill, they now started killing Muslims who were resisting their attitude.
All right.
It would seem that there's some sort of a disconnection again, and we hope that we can resolve that disconnection because there's another part of the conversation that I would love to explore with. Okay, right. Please go ahead, sir.
Everybody.
Yes, please go ahead with your thoughts, sir.
So people must know the difference between killing everybody and targeting Christians.
Okay.
In the past, during in the last 7 years, when we were burying people left, right, and center in Magame, in other part of southern Kaduna, and someone still want to tell me, you know, the whole thing is that because there has been confusion, saying that the killings is.
Okay.
We seem to have a constant network.
I would assume that there's a call coming in, but there is some interruption that's going on there, and we apologize for that. We hope we're able to resolve that clearly. He's detailed an account, a personal account of bodies he's had to bury as a reverend, and even he particularly mentioned the story of a... Okay, welcome back, sir. Please go. Are you there with us now?
Yeah, so...
Okay. For the benefit of time, I think you've driven your point home that people should distinguish between the killings, the terrorist killings, and targeted attacks. And I want to, pick on something that you said. You explained and you gave an instance of what happened to OG, who said to say to his brothers that he died well, and that you and a number of pastors had to move his wife to a safe location. One of the pastors you mentioned is Pastor Wale Adefarasin. And if I remember correctly, in the past week, he's been quoted as talking about this genocide matter. He says the West portrayal of the situation of Christians being under attack is sort of misleading. He says it's nothing new, it doesn't amount to a genocide. That the way the West are talking about it, it's as if a Christian steps on the street, his head will be blown off. I want you to react to his response and also talk about, we can't hear you, your audio is disconnected. I want you to react to that.
I don't know what went wrong that he is making that denial now. But the truth about it, I think one of the mistakes going on is that people are thinking this matter is against Tinubu. No, sir. Tinubu can even be given some credit. This matter is about Nigeria. It's about the peace and unity of this country. Let's correct it for our country. Let's correct it for our children. Let's correct it for our future. But when we are politicizing it and bringing sentiment, whether those in leadership are our brothers or our friends, that's where we are. We will go.
Okay. I think the second part of the question I had was, how would you assess the response by leaders of the Christian faith, leaders of the Islam? I know you've already said about the Islamic faith that you would expect that they speak more and maybe denounce this act. But what about the Christian leaders? How would you rate the response so far? And what are your thoughts about that?
Well, as Christian leaders, we also suffer our misrepresentation. Sometimes, as I try to explain this, you will have others who, for some selfish reason, will twist whatever one is saying. So that's why many Christian leaders don't want to talk, so that they don't get twisted. You remember there was a night, a story came out about Kumuyi, and when Kumuyi was not even around. So you can see everybody is afraid. We've seen people writing negative stories about Papa Adeboye and others. But the truth remains one. I think the current president has spoken. He emphasized that Christian genocide is true. And all of us are members of CAN. We are just another branch or another wing coming together as Northerners, but we are Nigerian. And we are the same people who have been crying. And we are not asking for anything too much. Government, stop the killing. Government, ensure that no Nigeria is victimized, no Nigeria is killed in this country or denied his right, whether right to education, whether right to build a place of worship, whether right to do anything. As I said in one medium recently, that do you know that in northern Nigeria, it's not just about killing. Even in institutions, federal institutions, they won't allow us to have a church. The fact that our children in most of the universities, you can bring BUK. There is a church that was born since 1987 or 92 in Congo, ABU here. We've not been able to rebuild that church up to today as I'm speaking to you. So what else? And we are trying to build moral leaders, leaders who will fear God. But you want your people to fear God and do what is right. Then my children should be vagabonds or my children should be wayward. What kind of life are we doing? And people are keeping quiet to those things. You come to ask for indigent form. Someone who came all the way from Borno can come to Kaduna or go to other states in the north and claim to be an indigent. But I, a Christian, who is from that state, I will not be. And if my father make mistake and give me an English name, that disqualifies me. So someone will look at you on the face and say, there's no John here. How can there be not be John? On what ground there was no John? Go to Katsina. A large number of Molumfashi, Funtua, Tsiga are Christians. The community that voted Masari to come over and be a member of the House of Reps and eventually become speaker are mostly Christians. So people shouldn't tell us we don't exist. So when we bear names that sound Bible, that's our offense. So these are the things we want to see corrected. Nigerians should have respect wherever they are. Religion is your personal thing. Follow your faith. I follow my faith, but all of us be obedient to the law of Nigeria and promote Nigeria and bring about the desired transformation we want to see in Nigeria. So I don't give excuse for any region. If there's any region that stop Muslims from building mosques, we should challenge them, let them stop. If there's any region that stop Muslims from being admitted, we should challenge them. But I'm speaking as a northerner. I only know my problem. If another problem is happening elsewhere, please come and tell us so that together we will join hands and fight. But don't tell me that I shouldn't complain when things are not going on right.
All right. Thank you so much, Reverend Joseph Ayab, for speaking with us. I mean, we do hope that we would find a lasting solution to this issue. And hopefully, we will be joining you again. This time, you'll be speaking on the improvement that the federal government has been able to achieve. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for your time.
Do take care of yourself.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.
That improvement if there's honesty.
Thank you. All right. That's not all. This is still Breakfast Central. We'll go on a break. When we come back, we'll be taking the news and, most importantly, the breakfast headlines. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Let's tell you that the federal government has suspended the planned 15% import duty on petrol and diesel. Pretty much sounds like good news to Nigerians. But the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority announced that the implementation of the duty is no longer in view. According to the authority, there's an adequate supply of fuel products across the country. It also warned marketers against hoarding, panic buying, or hiking prices. Officials say they will continue to monitor supply to ensure stability during this peak demand period. The federal government of Nigeria has officially scrapped the 2022 national language policy that mandated using the mother tongue or local languages as a medium of instruction from early childhood to primary 6. Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, during the 2025 Language and Education International Conference in Abuja, announced that English, will now be the sole language of instruction from primary through tertiary education levels. The decision followed evidence-based research showing that teaching as indigenous languages contributed to a poor student performance and high failure rates in national exams. The minister cited Nigeria's complex linguistic diversity and varying regional languages as practical challenges that support adopting English as a unified medium. Let's turn our attention to National Assembly matters. The Senate has passed for the second reading a bill seeking to repeal the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency Act and reenact it as the National Primary Healthcare Development Bill 2025. The bill is expected to establish a stronger legal and institutional framework for accessible and quality primary health services for Nigerians. Lawmakers also passed the Informal Sector Employment Regulation Bill 2025 for third reading, marking a major legislative move to formalize and safeguard millions of domestic workers, interns, apprentices, and other informal sector employees across the country. Meanwhile, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Abbas Tajuddin, has stressed the need for peaceful coexistence between Nigerians of all faith and ethnicity irrespective of their residential location around the country. Tajuddin made this known at the inauguration of an ad hoc committee on border security in Abuja, saying that the committee will review the nation's border management system and recommend measures to address the rising cases of cross-border crimes. The chairman of the committee, Isa Anka, described the assignment as a crucial national duty, saying that despite heavy government investment, Nigeria's borders remain largely porous, leaving room for smuggling, arms, trafficking, and other crimes.
In some ways, your borders define you as a nation. It shows what kind of people you allow into the country, how you protect citizens from harm, how you handle trade and commerce, how you welcome visitors. Our borders posts are poorly manned, ill-equipped with limited surveillance capacity, and poor synergy among the relevant agencies.
A lot of our borders are located in difficult terrains, like thick, forest, distant rivers and mountains and deserts, making them tough to police effectively.
Reactions have continued to trail the final 14-day grace period offered by the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, to property owners in Asokoro, Maitama, Gariki, and Wuse districts to pay a 5 million naira penalty for violating approved land use and purpose clause or face enforcement action. Analysts say although the said conversion of residential properties to commercial properties is an unpleasant act, an elongated extension period should be given. They, however, add that although the ultimatum is necessary due to the severity of the situation, property owners must comply with laid down land use regulation.
Mr. Wike, you could be right, but 2 weeks for those who are hearing for the first time that you didn't write letters to, because you need to notify me that I have broken the law. Then I respond to you. Otherwise, if you have not notified me, 2 weeks may be too short. So not follow the administrative processes. You cannot say it's executive high-handedness. But again, because I want to assume that ignorance of the law should no longer be considered as, should be seen as an excuse. In this case, that I did not know. I am sorry, and I want to, on behalf of these people, apologize to the government, the federal government, as it were, that time needed to be given, a 3-month window, but there are people who still don't know. If government identify all these properties, send them a letter.
In a call for renewed national dialogue on unity, leadership, and Nigeria's long-term stability, stakeholders, including the Arewa Consultative Forum, have joined calls for an alliance between the North and the South to push for the development of the nation. This was during a press briefing in Abuja, where they say that there is an urgent need to address insecurity, unemployment, and poverty in Nigeria, which affects the entire nation. The forum also warned that the nation is drifting under inconsistent governance, thereby calling on Northern elders to help steer the country to a more accountable and inclusive direction central to Nigeria's future.
We have a problem of security, as we all know, in this country. We have been trying to fight that problem. We have been encouraging government and security agencies to fight and secure lives and property. We are very confident that we feel that what affects us in the North, there are other things that affect other people in the South, and that no group alone can solve its own problem.
In South Sudan, President Salva Kiir has dismissed his Vice President Benjamin Bolmel, a move that has sparked fresh concerns about the country's fragile political stability. The announcement came through a presidential decree broadcast on state television SSBC, which offered no explanation for the decision. Bolmel, widely seen as a possible successor to President Kiir, was appointed second vice president in February and later became deputy leader of the ruling party in May. Both positions were revoked Wednesday. The dismissal comes amid the breakdown of a delicate power-sharing agreement between Kerr and opposition leader Riek Machar, raising fears of renewed conflict in the East African nation. Molmel, a wealthy businessman and key regime financier, was sanctioned by the United States in 2017 over corruption allegations. Despite that, many analysts viewed him as the leading contender to succeed the 74-year-old Kerr. In our final story, the United States Congress has voted to end the longest government shutdown in American history, bringing relief after 43 days of paralysis that left hundreds of thousands of federal workers without pay. The Republican-led House of Representatives approved a Senate-passed funding package, largely along party lines, to reopen federal agencies through January. Within hours of the Senate's decision, President Donald Trump signed the bill during an event in the Oval Office, formally ending the record-breaking shutdown that had crippled Washington for more than 6 weeks. And that's all on Breakfast Headlines. Don't forget to tune in at 12 for the 12 Report, where you get all the latest stories from Nigeria and the world. Stay with us. The front pages of the newspapers comes up next here on Breakfast Central.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We hope you've been enjoying the show this morning. It's unfortunate that some of the stories haven't been the most pleasant, but it is a reality, and our responsibility here on News Central's Breakfast Central is to tell the story as it is. Now, joining us to review the papers this morning is public affairs analyst Wade Ahimie. Good morning.
Good morning, Olive.
How are
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Joe. And
Morning.
welcome back from your holiday.
It was very short. That was not a holiday. It was a break.
That's on 9 bad part. Some people have no holiday. Be grateful for what you have.
Yeah.
So just say thank you.
Just welcome back from
We're
the
thankful.
break.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay, good to have you, Wade.
And it's always good to be here.
Before we get into the papers, I just wanted to touch quickly on the story that the interview we had before the news, where we're speaking with Reverend Joseph Ayaba, and he was sharing his first-hand experience of the killings in northern Nigeria. I just wanted to get your overall thoughts, especially because we've also had the NC exclusive with Reverend Ezekiel Dachomo, where he passionately experienced what we would refer to as a sorry state of insecurity, of northerners in Nigeria. I just wanted to get your reactions to it.
This is where I grown up. And the Fulani knows that is my village. They invented chanting Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, sporadic shooting all over the village from different angles. And this is the sound of their guns. I don't know whether it comes from, is it Iraq or Iran or anything. You hear kukum, 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 kukum. This is the sound of the terrorists in Islam. And when they enter the village, and this is what happened. They move after that night. Those that were able to escape helter-skelter, they were able to go and hide. Then they burned the villages. I was called. I have to take a journalist to that village the following morning.
Wade,
You know, every time we talk about insecurity, and I didn't listen to this, but I listened to the interview just before now. And the first thing, and what I loved about his conclusion is, he wasn't talking about whether we're Christians or Muslims. He was talking about Nigerians that were being killed. Terrorism all across the world is about fundamentalism. Extremism. And that's not what majority of the people believe in. So when you kill them, and I remember a long time ago, and I said this, I think when when the Boko Haram issue started, and they said, oh, they were attacking Christians and all. It's like the issue of the Jews, and I always use that as an example. Where you think you are safe because you believe or you perceive that we are one, when there is nobody else to defend you, and it's just you and the so-called enemy, because you are now the enemy. It started with churches, then when churches were no longer available, they went into government, what's it called? Government infrastructure. When that was not available, who was left? Then they went into their Muslim folks. But the truth of it is that Nigerians, and I continue to repeat, Nigerians are being killed. First, we are Nigerians before we're Christians. We're Nigerians before we're Muslims. We're Nigerians before we're traditionalists. We're Nigerians even before we're a member of a state. Because the states have been divided in a country called Nigeria. So what exactly are we talking about? It's unfortunate that we have to continually go around these things. Is Muslims against Christians? Is tribe against tribe? Is religion? No. This is and if we cannot accept that fact, then we have not started to fight the insecurity that is in Nigeria.
So we should look at every life as sacred, and every loss of life
in this country is the loss of a Nigerian who could have participated and contributed to the well-being of this country.
I mean, there are those who maybe would push back on that and say that, yes, we believe completely and agree that every life of every Nigerian is important and is valued. But then, like the Reverend said, he said we must differentiate between terrorism and targeting.
And that's why he started by saying extremism.
Yes.
Because extremism has no brother. The only brother it has is the extremist. He has no Muslim brother, no Christian brother, no traditionalist brother. He has a brother or a sister who is an extremist. And where there is nobody who is following the rules and regulations the way he thinks or believes that they should follow it, then everybody else makes no sense and has no value to him or her.
All right. Anyway.
Okay, let's get into our papers this morning. Let's begin with the Punch newspaper. And on the front page of the Punch newspaper, the big headline there says, Wike naval officer clash. Ex-generals fume as federal government orders probe. Another probe again. FCT Minister Nyesom Wike sparks concerns over civilian-military relations. Well, what I can tell you for free is that it not only has sparked concerns, it has sparked a social media trend in cartoons and skits.
AI. Well, Nigerians have to.
And AI videos.
You have to find the funny side.
I'm sure Joe has seen that AI video.
I've seen plenty.
There are many. There's
Plenty
one
of them.
oh my goodness, Joe. Oh no, there are many.
Plenty.
Be fair, truthful in government criticism, Tinubu tells editors. PDP insists on Ibadan Convention amid court orders. Today is the 13th. The Federal High Court in Abuja, with Justice Peter Lifu sitting, has banned again the sitting of the People's Democratic, or the holding.
So that's the latest.
That's the latest. As at the day before yesterday. It is still prohibited. In fact, INEC has been forbidden. But then PDP say, who are you? You get coconutted, you know the word. Mobat's family demands a fresh probe. Bar's wife from using surname. There we go again. OPEC report shows Nigeria underproducing crude again. National Assembly approves Tinubu's 1.5 trillion naira domestic loan. Reps probe 20 trillion naira abandoned federal properties. My critics now praise me, says Obasanjo. Final story, Bamidele Kalu differ on alleged plots to impeach Akpabio.
That's a new one.
I'll leave the floor for you to decide which story you want to speak.
It's a la carte. He can choose.
He can choose. Point and kill.
As the hot.
It's a buffet.
It's a buffet and the ogufe. Anyway, let me look at that probe that the Senate is this National Assembly, the 20 trillion?
Yes. You remember the Federal Secretariat in Ikoyi, prime real estate.
Yeah, and where
so many others.
Where we don't understand the value of infrastructure.
National Stadium, Surulere.
When we don't understand the value of infrastructure, that's why we'll be probing 20 trillion. It's in Nigeria that I hear that there's an abandoned project by government. Why? Because the previous government started it and the new government will start a new project.
Or the previous.
Well, I don't know, but let's say the previous, the white elephant.
White elephant project.
And they are very rare. Yeah. But in Nigeria, we have them plenty.
A lot.
20 trillion worth of white elephants.
Yes. And so it just beats me where we spend so much to create something or to start something and we never finish them. So how do you expect, and we say, oh, we don't have enough revenue sources. How do you get revenue sources when you don't finish the projects that are supposed to generate revenues for you, that are supposed to create maybe offices or maybe houses that people are going to pay for or people are going to live in and pay, whether it's land use, and just a number of them. And then we'll come back and then they'll come back here and say, oh, we've invited Mr. A, maybe the works commissioner or the works minister then, or the permanent secretary has retired, and then you will invite the new one and say, well, he's not aware that this project is abandoned. But it just beats me where we just throw money away, 20 trillion wasted, and then we're looking for money and borrowing every day. This government has probably borrowed more than the last two administrations put together.
What would you suggest would be the best approach to, at least, because a lot of these projects are wasted in dealing with this infrastructure that are scattered around the country, 20 trillion worth of it. Because sometimes they convert the land, they use it, and then they turn it into luxury apartments that are beyond the reach of many people. What would be the best approach?
It's very difficult for me to tell you what the best approach is.
Okay, National Stadium and Federal Secretariat in Ikoyi, for example. What do you do with such projects?
Lease it out to a management company that would be able to utilize it and pay you for it. And all these things. But most of these projects that we're talking about, National Stadium has been there. Those ones are even fully built. It's just that they've just not been used. Since the Secretariat left, the Federal Secretariat left Lagos, that place has just been abandoned. Those are office spaces. And people are looking for office spaces. Okay, convert them into, what's it called? What do you call those things? Those small houses that young Nigerian studio apartments, and let people come in there and lease them and put the infrastructure there. The building is already there. What you require is how you renovate it and turn it into something that will create money or value for you. But of course, you just abandon it and say, oh no, it's government property. We can't touch it. We can't sell it. If you can't use it, then sell it and raise the money and put it into something that is going to be tangible for Nigeria.
They tried to do something about the trade fair that has been abandoned, but Lagos State has also gone there to demolish what they did. So,
and you see, and that's always the issue. The issue is we don't even see how we want to create value from things already existent. We have, when I drive down Ikorodu, old properties and all, and people are looking for apartments, and you're not coming together and saying, how do we create all these things, all these buildings that used to have one person live there? How do we create small studio flats that young people who are coming up can rent, can short leases? Well, of course, we're thinking about dirty December. But January to November is completely
even that dirty December, they've thrown works into the spanner.
No, but you know the irony of it. if you have all this kind of infrastructure, old infrastructure, upgraded into things that people, 30 December will probably generate you more money because people who are coming in,
you're right,
that want to rent a studio apartment is available. People who come in from outside Lagos or from outside a particular city who want to spend 6 months coming to work because they have work to do there, rather than stay in a hotel. Do you understand? And you pay so much money. Give them the allowance. They rent those places. They buy their food. They take care of themselves. There is internet. There is light. But of course, we just leave them and because we don't even have a maintenance.
Well, even the Nigerian in us, Olive.
Yeah, we don't have a
they've
maintenance.
added $1,000 or $500 to Airbnb charges just for that period of December because I know there's a rush.
Oh,
yeah,
no, Nigerians are just doing bookings.
Because why won't you add to it? No, but the demand that strips the supply.
As at 4 weeks ago.
Why can't we be fair?
As at 4 weeks ago.
I don't understand.
But Benga, that's part of the business, though.
Yes, now, Benga, that's it now.
If you go to a state like Sao Paulo,
is lower than the demand. Of course,
obviously
automatically go up.
Olive, will you do it?
Do which one?
Do what?
Increase
okay, so let me ask you a question.
$1,000.
No, let me ask you a question.
From the average.
Wait, let me ask you a question. I come now and say, okay, I'll pay you $500 to rent your apartment.
Studio apartment.
Your studio apartment from December. No. From December 15 to January, 4 weeks to January 15. I say, okay, fine. And then Olive walks in and says, oh, take $1,000
per
what
day,
happens?
per night.
As a principled man that
listens
to gospel music, that listens to gospel music.
As a man of integrity, once you've collected your $500,
no, he hasn't collected it.
He hasn't collected it.
We have agreed. He wants to give it out at $500, but you come and you.
I'll collect that higher offer.
Oh,
why would you collect it?
Even if you collect the $500, I can come back tomorrow and say, you know what? Okay, take your $500 and don't worry. It's no longer available. But that's the reality of economics. If demand is higher than supply and there's a shortage of supply.
But Lagos State government is now saying, and I want your take on this, that they want to start repair works immediately on the Lekki-Epe corridor.
Yes.
So traffic will be reduced to one lane.
And there have been specifications
and it's going to take 6 months.
Thank God I no longer live in that axis. That's the first thing I would say.
Guys, I might have to be doing breakfast central.
Olive, I would advise you that you look for a studio apartment somewhere close. You and Joe.
My brother.
So they will probably be joining Breakfast Central via Zoom.
Yeah.
So Benga, on Thursdays we'll sit at the studio.
But people are already arguing that they could have waited till after December.
Exactly.
Because
when they're talking of that in December,
I think it makes economic sense that, I mean, if Lagos State is listening, which I believe.
So for how long? No, but the other question is, how long are they going to?
It's a long time.
So I think the duration is about 6 months.
Yes, it's 6 months.
So why didn't we start earlier?
Well,
why didn't we start earlier? And then say...
Well, they've actually started from the Abraham Adesanya aspect.
Say, honestly.
The plan is to come down towards the Lekki corridor, which is Lekki phase 1.
No, they start from first roundabout to second, first toll gate,
to the second toll gate. That's what I'm saying, down to the second toll gate. But economically, if you look at it, everybody is talking about the timing. I always say something. I think as a country, we have a time management problem. And that's the truth. It cuts across all spectrum of governance. Because sometimes when you want to take a decision, one of the biggest questions everyone asks is, did they sit down to look at it and say, should we do it now? Or can we wait for it?
Or would they open that coastal road?
It's not even there. That's another question. It's not even there that possibly as we're fixing this road.
Alternatively, I heard that the coastal road from VI has reached Orchid Hotel Road.
Yes, it has. But the problem now is it's not opened. It's come see, come side.
So maybe they will open it for this period.
Maybe, but it's not
in the community. It's their baby.
It's not in the community.
I know, but that's a federal road. So Lagos State will serve.
Okay, but they've commissioned 30 kilometers out of it. So
when they open it, they've not finished working on it. You will use your trailer and your tipper to come and destroy the road for them.
Well, I think,
let's go.
Like we said, I think the 30 December with the road construction will be extremely dirty.
It's ordinary. Let me just mention. Ordinarily, when there's no road construction,
it's already very bad.
If you leave home by 9 a.m. during the 30 December, which kicks off officially in the next 2 weeks, you would be on that road for
yeah,
3 to 4 hours.
Okay, let's move away from road conversations
anyway,
and look at the Nigerian Tribune, our next paper, see what the front pages are saying. The front page of the Nigerian Tribune, Damagum-led NWC affirms Saturday's convention, blames APC for PDP crisis, alleges plot for one-party state. Convention will go as scheduled on Saturday, committee says. Court extends interim order. We also have Makinde making Ibadan livable. Obasanjo says at inauguration of mega bus terminal, governor says secular road will become Oyo State's economic backbone. Senators clash over delineation of wards in Warri by INEC was still on this matter.
Okay.
I am tired of moving motions without results. Benue lawmaker laments rising herders' killings. And, I can imagine how sad that is, feeling there, but in some measure helpless. Tinubu approves construction of Itaure, Aramoko, Ado-Ekiti, Aromoko, Ijero, Ifaki roads. Akpawolo Hills, Edo Rebirth, reels out transformational achievements across key sectors.
Yeah, Paco Governor.
It will be great to look at that. Nigerian stocks rebound as blue chip rally lifts markets by 2.59 trillion naira. Let's talk about good news. Let's talk about PDP. And PDP has said it's APC's fault. APC is trying to move for one-party state. Whereas there's a court judgment that says that convention should not hold. Yet they have said they will go ahead with the convention.
And there's a court judgment that said it should hold.
Judgments that we have.
Two courts. Abuja court twice. Ibadan court once. Abuja court first said it should not hold. Ibadan, Oyo State, State High Court. So Federal High Court and the State High Court. So the State High Court said it would not hold, but the State High Court cannot, override the judgment of the Federal High Court. Then the Federal High Court says again, just to be sure, they go back to the court again, and this time Justice
why didn't they just go to the appeal court?
I think they have gone to the appeal court, but from our conversation with Dr. Pierce, I remember asking, did you get a stay on execution? Instead of saying, if you're going to the appeal, you get a stay on execution to ensure that the status quo remains. I don't think that they got a stay on execution, but they've said they'll go ahead with the convention.
Well, like we know, we're a country that, when we consider when we look at it in reality, we really don't obey laws. So 3 court orders for one convention.
But the seriousness of an opposition party like the PDP that held sway for 16 years and can't put his house together in a few years to the next general elections, what danger does it portend for
I like how you say
democracy?
Few years. It's not a few years, though. It's less than 2 years.
Less than 2 years.
Danger for democracy?
Yes, because, we don't seem to have a very strong and viable opposition.
Yeah, but
with all this infighting.
Let's take this government. Let's go to the center, the seat of power. We have a call from Abuja. Good morning. Thanks for calling. Please go ahead. Udo, please turn down the volume of your TV set with us, for us before you go ahead. Udo, I believe that Udo means peace. Is there peace in the Federal Capital Territory?
I've done so already. I've switched off my television.
Okay. Thank you.
On the program, News Central is very dear to my heart. I'll keep telling you what secularized news. Thank you for what you are doing. Thank you for being the conscience of the nation. Whether anybody likes you or not, just keep doing your work. My wife used to scold me that each time I'm dwelling on Newsroom Africa in South Africa and SABC, and I tell her that I get more information from SABC about happening in Nigeria than our news channels. You keep going from one politician to the other, massaging their ego. Imagine me getting news about what's happening in Kaduna and Abuja from Newsroom Africa, and that's what you are doing. That's what News Central is doing now, bringing things to the fore. So I just want to make one contribution so I don't waste your time. Please help in raising the consciousness of Nigerians. People are tired. People are tired when it comes to voting. Last election, we had the polling units in FCT in Kubwa till 1 a.m. waiting for results to be uploaded. And guess what? By the time we woke up in the morning, we are hearing different things. So a lot of people, like in my very large cathedral, are saying, don't even mention voting anymore. A lot of people in my village are saying, don't even call anything. I call from Anambra. We just finished an election. And a dismal 422,000 made the governor in Anambra. That's nonsense. 422,000. That's almost the number you used to win House of Reps in Abuja. So please, News Central, I beg you, please, in the name of God, help Nigerians.
Nigerians are down, they are out, they are angry, they are nonchalant about any election because they believe whether they vote or not or stay in the police station by 2 a.m., something else will happen. So please help bring this consciousness. And thank you very much for what you do. Thank you.
Thank you very much for
the recommendation, and thanks for the commendation, rather, and thanks for the point.
It gladdens my heart to hear people like this when they talk about the fact that we need to participate, not just participate, we need to be part and parcel of what's going on for the electoral process, and I'm glad.
But you can hear the frustration in his voice as well. I mean, when he says an abysmal 122,000 was what it took to elect a governor in Anambra State, whereas that's what they used to elect a House of Rep member in the Federal Capital Territory. It's really sad.
The turnout this time around was about 20%.
That reflects how...
it was a better reflection of the
last time.
Yes, it is a better reflection, but it's still not good numbers.
Yeah, because we don't talk, like I always say, we don't talk enough about... Election is not a 4-year cycle.
Is it that we don't talk enough about election and electoral participation, or there's a huge disconnect between the voting populace who feel like they are really not being represented?
When we talk about election and the electoral process, we continue to talk about the parties and the process itself, that Nigerians should actually know and understand. Excuse me. First, once you turn 18 and you register, you should get your card within the next 1 month. And you should be able to get it. Where do you get these cards from? You are supposed to go to the local government. Do you go there? They frustrate you. And it's not 90 days to an election that you go looking for your voter's card. And today with technology, they should be able to send you the details of where to go or where you can pick it up, and then you search online. So these are the things we need to continually educate Nigerians so that more and more, and a lot of young people really do still believe in an electoral process. But like you said, the frustration is when on election day, they say you see 2 million voters card under a bridge. What are their expectations? Because you are not, we must start to demand now. Local governments are supposed to be able to give you your voter's card if you've registered and if it's ready. So we must demand that they do that. We must demand that the states, the local government authorities do the needful, because elections are actually from the local government upward. The grassroots is in the local government. If your local government is not functional, then there is a challenge. So, and those are the things. So you go, I remember the 2023 elections. Some people will go to local government. They say, oh no, the cards are not ready. They are not here. They are not stacked. And it's the same way whether you go and get your driver's license card. You will see them.
We should even have options of them mailing it in.
Let's leave the mailing.
Because your debit cards are sent to your house.
Let's leave the mailing. Let's create a system whereby even on Saturdays and Sundays, even if it's for a 4-hour period, some people you can go there because people are busy, and I agree with that. And even with the voting exercise itself, why do we all have to be locked up on one Saturday from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and we still don't have credible elections?
Does it really make sense?
Exactly.
Because countries where they're not locked up, they're moving around like
Ghana did elections, they did shut down the whole economy.
And they had very
and it was on
positive results. Yes.
Kenya did the same thing. Yes, there will be gaps here and there, but that's where people are prepared to move an electoral process. But when you continue to go, if you don't have a voter's card, electronic voting, electronic card and all.
Let's take this call. We have a caller who's calling in. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Benson. Please go ahead with your comment.
Good morning. How are you doing? Good morning.
Good morning, Benson. We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. I want to comment about Wike and the PDP. Because my own business is, I supported PDP to continue with their this thing, because women being not supposed to honor on their court, because why the judges are not here. Because I supported them 100 times to comment about their convention. Let their convention continue. So after the convention, whatever cause want to do in this country, let us see it, because the way they are judging cases in this country, it begins to irritate. It begins to irritate, especially me. The second one is this, about Wike and the Sojama. If I were the Sojama, somebody like Wike, 20 Wike cannot stop me with God. I will have taken him there because he need to usher the way he behaves. He is not only the first minister in Nigeria, in FCT. He needs to be very, very careful the way he behaves in this country. He is not the owner of this country. That is my comment this morning. Thank you very much.
Hear us, Benson.
I don't think he can
hear us.
2 minutes to go.
Because obviously he has a personal vendetta against the minister of the FCT. But beyond having a personal vendetta against him, are you saying that the PDP should defy?
I mean, it's his opinion. Now, we know that if they go ahead and have a convention, it will be an exercise in futility.
But also bringing the opinion to the fore, the Abuja court says you can't. A court in
of coordinate jurisdiction.
Ibadan, where the convention will hold, say you can.
So
yeah, one is state, one is high court.
Let's leave it federal. Let's see how it
for the experts.
Yeah, you know, but we've never had it this tough where you have to start opening according to the constitution in years. You have
even the lawyers.
It goes back. Even the lawyers.
The lawyers are now singing.
What is going on?
The lawyers are singing normal.
What is the?
If you ask me, who are the lawyers?
So the real question here will be, what does the constitution of the PDP say?
Sir, there's a lawyer.
I don't have the constitution.
Then you not see what the constitution of
I'm not a member of the People's Democratic Party.
Thank you so much, Wike. It's the end of the show.
I want to quickly read comments on YouTube live stream. His IMF first says you are a fool. Then I'm shocked by that. Like, who is he insulting? Then the next thing he says, I'm not a fool. And he joke a lot. Lilian Oloha says, it appears we carry the same land racketeering, grabbing mentality.
Is Lilian our lawyer?
Lilian is our lawyer, yes. Oh. She says, Deji, there you go again. This is in response to Deji. I grew up partly in Port Harcourt. I know the issue of land grabbing and racketeering, the Alin Dam syndrome of the Ikwere people. Ronaldo's fan says, Sheikh Gumi says it is two fighting as he claims. Muslims are being killed also. Is he also saying that it is also two fighting between the terrorists and the Muslims being killed?
That's a tough one.
We can see a number of comments and commendations. Omokuye Chukwuemeka says, Wike used to be the love of many of us in Port Harcourt when Amechi fought Jonathan with the APC. But because the man became something else because of power, now he has lost his followership. The man in question has a problem with land. He just wants to collect and collect and collect land anywhere his eyes looks to. The mechanic village in PH is now sitting a building that he allegedly owns. Wow. We're seeing greetings from Annie Chinedu Brown. Thank you very much. Thank you, Lily, and thank you to everyone who's commented.
Maybe there should be a cabinet reshuffle.
Abandoned property.
And if there's a cabinet shuffle and they make him Minister of Blue Economy, who collect sea and the seas abundant.
Wow. Wow. I have a joke to wrap up that with. Frank Imang Foto, in response to Reverend sharing the experiences of the killings in the North, he says, Reverend, thank you. That's all that we can take. Binga, in response to what you have said and what Omokuye Chukwuemeka said about someone wanting to collect and collect and collect. In the Holy Book, the Bible in particular, God said to Abraham, go out, look at the skies, the stars. As far as your eyes can see, that have I given unto you.
Wow.
So, do
on that note,
scripture what you be.
We wrap up on a very scriptural basis. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me as usual.
That's what the person's name was Abraham.
That's you guys were seeing now. That's what in explanation of that scripture.
It started with an A, not an N.
Okay, guys, we have to go. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching.
And happy birthday to my main man, Tunde Raji.